want none! You don't want none!
What's going on, Tar Heel Nation? It is your favorite North Carolinian, Russ the Tar Heel. And in this episode, we're going to talk about North Carolina's 41-24 victory over the Pittsburgh Panthers. First ACC road game moves the North Carolina Tar Heels to 4-0, 1-0 in the ACC. And what a stinking ball game, man, at the end of the day. 41-24. The Heels kind of dug themselves in a hole. You know, we talked about them starting fast, and they did not start fast. The very beginning of this football game was stinking tough to watch. I mean, Pittsburgh was just cramming the ball down their stinking throat. And like we said in the preview, all we had to do was stop the ball and make Phil Dracovic, beat us in the air. And here we are watching the Heels just getting stinking stomped. I mean, just could not stop the run. Pittsburgh opens the game on an 8-minute drive, 7-0 Panthers. And it's like, what in the world is going on? And even the offense didn't look particularly good, especially in the beginning stages of the game. I mean, they really did have to kind of force their way down the field. I mean, nothing came easy, and a lot of that has to do with that Pitt Panther defense. Drake Maye goes 22 for 30, 296 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 touchdowns on the ground. He did have 299 yards of 299 yards of total offense. Omarion Hampton had 18 carries, 66 yards, 1 touchdown, and then my man J.J. Jones had a ball game, son. 6 receptions, 117 yards. He had that 52-yarder, that deep post that he has been just massacring people in every single ball game, it seems like. Just a phenomenal game by J.J. Jones. He's turning into a real good deep threat individual, man. Phil Dracovic got knocked out at the end of the second half. There was a questionable targeting call on Tayon Holloway. I thought it was kind of ridiculous, but he went 11 for 15, 109 yards. And then they had the backup quarterback coming after that. And then Hammond had 14 carries for 83 yards, a touchdown for Pitt. And then Mumpfield had a couple of big catches, 8 receptions for 90 yards. North Carolina, believe it or not, and this is kind of surprising to me, was only able to amass 373 yards of total offense. I thought that they struggled a little bit in the beginning, but I thought that it was more than that. But they could not run the football to save their life, man. They had 39 rushing attempts for 77 yards. That's 2 yards per carry. That is not going to cut it at the end of the day, man. We've got to get better at running the ball at the Power 5 level. And that's something to be concerned about, man. I mean, Omarion had a decent ball game in that he was able to get that touchdown. That's his 7th rushing touchdown of the game, or of the season, excuse me. He is a load inside the 5, and he runs hard, man. Had a couple of real good yards down inside the 5-yard line. But in the middle parts of the field, Omarion and British Brooks really kind of struggled to find any lanes, to find any gaps, if you will. So it was kind of tough to watch, man. It was kind of tough to watch the offense at certain stages of the game. Heels go into the half leading 28-17, and I'll be honest with you, like I told the guys in the live stream, given how that first quarter went, because Pitt scored right at the beginning of the second quarter to make it 14-7. When Carolina went into halftime 28-17, it felt like we were extremely fortunate. Now, Carolina really started playing well into the second quarter, so you got to tip your cap to them too. But the way that we started that football game compared to going into the half was like almost 2 different football games. So I was really impressed with the way that the Heels weathered the storm. And we talked about that, some of the growth that we would see during this football game, what we needed to see in order to be able to say that the North Carolina Tar Heels have taken another step in that evolution of becoming good or even great as a football team. And one of those things was, Pitt, they're 1-2. Phil Dracovic is struggling. There's not going to be a big crowd there. It's kind of cloudy, possibly going to be raining and storming and everything. Could you generate your own energy? And at the beginning of the football game, I'm not going to lie, I'm looking around the defense. I'm like, who is going to spark this team? Bunch of guys just kind of standing around, almost looked shell-shocked at how the game started. And it was almost the same way on the offensive side of the ball as well. But then they really started to turn it up a notch. I would say, after the first part of that second quarter when Pitt came down and they scored, and it's 14-7 Pitt, I feel like North Carolina really turned it on from that point. North Carolina's defense only gave up 304 yards of total offense. 194 yards passing. The quarterbacks went a combined 18 for 33. That's just a little over 50%. And they forced the quarterbacks to throw 2 interceptions. My man Elijah Huzzie had 2 picks. They only gave up 110 yards rushing on 27 attempts. That's 4.1 yards a carry. But Pitt had 11 penalties for 84 yards. And some of them were in some real big spots, especially in that opening drive. Pitt also had 3 turnovers. Fumble lost, 2 picks. Carolina also dominated the time of possession, 31-07 to 28-53. So once again, they held the football for longer than the team that's what they wanted to do, is hold the football, run the football. So as bad as the defense started off, they only gave up 304 yards of total offense. And you know what? That's pretty good. Now, Pitt does not have a good offense. So how much is that saying moving forward? Not that much. We've kind of been blessed in that we've played Minnesota and Pitt the last 2 games. As far as the defense is concerned, there's not a lot of playmakers on those 2 teams. But going from not being able to stop the run to finally actually, for all intents and purposes, stopping the run, that was good to see. It was good to see those guys get punched in the mouth, take a couple of body shots, and then make it happen for the rest of the game. I was impressed by that. I must say, I was impressed by that. So, like I said, Drake Maye, he ends the game 22 for 30, 1 touchdown pass, 296 yards passing, no turnovers. That was huge. Omarion Hampton goes for 18 carries, 66 yards on 3.7 yards a carry. He had that touchdown. That's his 7th touchdown of the year. British Brooks struggled. 8 carries, 12 yards, 1.5 yards per carry. And Drake, with the sacks, he had 10 rushes for 3 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground. So he accounted for 3 touchdowns and almost 300 yards of total offense. J.J. Jones was huge. Once again, 6 receptions, 117 yards, including that deep post, that 52-yarder. John Copenhaver had 2 really big catches, 2 for 53. My man looked like he had his cast off, so it was good to see him ball out. He had 26.5 yards per catch. Nate McCullum came down to earth a little bit, but he was a real good serviceable receiver. 5 receptions for 47 yards. Kobe Paysour had 3 catches for 39 yards. Omarion Hampton out of the backfield had a couple of really big catches, 2 for 22. So the ball was getting spread around pretty good. That was good to see. A couple of receivers were able to be put into the game, and it was good to see them make some plays, especially after the beginning of that game started. Now, one of the things that I want to talk about moving on to the defensive side of the ball is, like I said, Carolina initially was unable to stop the run. They settled in, and they really actually played a pretty good football game after the first quarter. But one of the guys that obviously all Carolina fans are going to think about in this football game is my man Alijah Hussey. What a stinking ball game this guy had. 2 picks, and he returned punt for a touchdown. And he had another additional, his first punt return was a real big punt return to set up Carolina with a short field. I mean, this guy is proving over and over to be just such a tremendous pickup in the transfer portal for the North Carolina Tar Heels. And when you look at it, Cedric Gray is the man, But we talk about somebody who has brought it every single game consistently. You know what you're going to get, and it's borderline greatness. Alijah Hussey. My man came from Eastern Tennessee State. Nobody was recruiting this guy, and look at him now. There's no question, there's absolutely no question can Alijah Hussey play in the Atlantic Coast Conference. Of course he can. The kid is phenomenal. He's a football player. That's exactly what the North Carolina Tar Heels have been missing over the course of the years. The kid is just, he's on his P's and Q's, man. He is phenomenal to watch. I love watching Alijah Hussey. It's a great stinking ball game. 2 picks, returns a punt for a touchdown, had another additional punt return, and he even had a couple of pass breakups, man. The kid's just all over the field. Just a stinking baller. So, really good game for Alijah. I'm glad he started to get those picks, man. Well-deserved as well as he's been playing. Now, like I said, Carolina, 41-24. They go to 1-0 in the ACC, which puts them in a tie for technically second place with the Duke Blue Devils. Just a real big victory, man. I mean, when you start to look at last year with the 3-point wins, the 4-point wins, the 1-point win, and you look at this year, they beat South Carolina in front of a large South Carolina fan base by 14. Then they turn around and they play App State. They beat them in double overtime. Then they play a Big Ten team and just dominate the game for all intents and purposes, especially towards the end. And then they weathered the storm against Pitt, and they ended up beating them by 18. My final prediction beforehand was 31-17. And, the fact that they beat them by 17, you really do have to consider that a win. Now, am I upset that they gave up 24 points? Sure. The kick return was ridiculous. I can't believe that we let that up because it looks bad. We're talking about hopefully the Heels continue to stack these wins together. Eventually, the committee is going to start looking at how did you beat your opponents? Not only how good are your opponents, but how bad did you beat them? Did you dominate them? And North Carolina should have dominated Pitt. Even after that kind of sketchy first quarter, there's no reason that we shouldn't have scored 50 on the Pitt Panthers, and they should not be in the 20s. Should have been probably, the final was 41-24. I can definitely see at least 51-17. It was that kind of game. The talent level was just so much different. It's not even close. But one of the things that Carolina struggles with, and they still have not fully developed, is just that killer instinct, man. Just putting people to sleep. They had so many opportunities to just put this thing to bed, and they didn't. And it ain't necessarily just the players. Some of it was play calling. Just really vanilla play calling towards the latter stages of the game. That, for all intents and purposes, a lot of people think that Mac is just trying to be respectful and not blow people out. You can play football and still be classy. If you beat somebody by 35 points, man, then you beat them by 35 points. That's not classy. Not classy is like when it's 70-7 in the third and you're slinging the football around with your starting quarterback. Yeah, okay. But 41-24, you're getting short fields and you're purposefully just running the football right into where you've had zero success. To me, that's just ridiculous. And it was frustrating to see. And I know Carolina fans are frustrated to see that. And for anybody that would say, you guys are 4-0, well, how in the world could you complain? It's Carolina. Because we can be better. There's a big problem when you settle for mediocrity. That's a problem, and it's a recipe for disaster. Eventually, you're going to fall on your face. That's just how life works. So you got to strive for perfection. And we see all these opportunities to where we can perfect our craft. It's like we never do it. We just kind of let teams hang around. It's just kind of like, okay, you won 41-24. Hey, good W, but it could have been better. And anybody that would have a problem with me saying that, well, then that's just because you're okay with being mediocre. And I'm not. Especially when your team is not a mediocre team. This is a good football team. And yes, this is a good win, but it could have been better. Period. Plain and simple. So one of the things that I really hope that they work through, I hope they get healthy. We got to be able to run the stinking football. 77 yards on the ground against Power 5 teams. And yes, it's Pitt. They got a good front seven. We've got to find a way to complement the passing game and be able to run the football. That is something that we really need to work on. Guards got to get healthy. We got to get the starting 5 back out there so that we can get into this pivotal stretch, if you will. Bye week, great. Absolutely fantastic. Couldn't come at a better time with the injuries that we got across the line of scrimmage. But, those are the things that I want to see us clean up, man. And quite frankly, I want to see the coaching staff stop punching. This is going to sound bad, but it's a euphemism. I want to see the coaching staff develop this mentality where we start punching people in the throat, dude. I mean, you got to stinking knock them out and stop letting teams hang around. Eventually, that's going to bite you in the butt. But we do see an increased margin of victory. Therefore, we do see growth. And I don't think this team has even come close to playing to their ceiling. And that's encouraging. That is encouraging, because I do believe, and I called this at the beginning of the season, that this could be a special season. And we're seeing that unfold in front of our very eyes. And I still believe that. This can be an 11-1 season. This could be a 12-0 season. That's not far-fetched to me. You laugh if you want to. There is no reason that with the schedule that's in front of this team, they can't run the table. Not one reason. There's not a team that they're going to play that you can legitimately say they can't hang with them. No, they can hang with everybody. The question is, will they do it? That is the question. But at the same time, man, just coming back down to reality, the Heels are 4-0. 4-0. The first time since 1997. I was 11 years old the last time the North Carolina Tar Heels started the season 4-0. I mean, that is huge. We're in great company. We are in great company, and that is something to celebrate, man. We can nitpick, and I'm going to call it out, whatever it is, But at the same time, as we're nitpicking and we want to be better and we want to be great, we also have to celebrate the fact that we are where we are. It's not a lot of teams in the country that are 4-0, bro. And the North Carolina Tar Heels are one of them. And we probably move into the top 15 with this victory. A couple of teams under, are a little bit lower than us. They lost. Hey, all we're doing is carving out space for us. And if we consistently move up 2 spots, 3 spots a week, I'm all good with it, bro. Because eventually you're going to be at the top where you belong. So, really good victory, man. 41-24. One of the things that I can't stress this enough is Carolina, being down after 1, getting punched in the face, getting the body shots, and then having the fortitude, the heart, the courage, the strength to battle out of that lull and to actually get a fairly convincing victory. That's good stuff, man. You got to love that as a Carolina fan. So, the North Carolina Tar Heels, they move to 4-0, and that's thinking huge, especially when you look at like Clemson. Clemson just, they got 2 losses right now in the Atlantic Coast Conference. That's pretty insane. It's there for us. Why not us? All we got to do is just get that nose down to the grindstone, man, and just keep working and perfecting this craft. So, Tar Heels move to 4-0, 1-0 in the Atlantic Coast Conference. It's a bye week. Then we'll have Syracuse after that. I don't know. We'll probably stink and watch maybe some college football this Saturday. Y'all stay tuned for that. And we'll definitely, obviously, be watching the Syracuse game. I'm almost sad that there's no football next week. What the heck am I going to do, man? What am I going to do without the Tar Heels playing? It's all right. They need to get some guys healthy anyway. So, like I said, if you haven't already, man, like, share, subscribe. We're trying to get as many Tar Heels in here as we can. This is a growing community. We had a really good week last week. So, hey, man, tell your friends about it. Tell your Tar Heel friends. Tell your college football and college basketball friends. Let them know that the Tar Heel Huddle is here. I had a lot of fun on the live stream. I appreciate you, Carlton. I want to give a shout out to my man. He's been super faithful, even when we've had connection issues. And if you've tried to get in there before, and then you're like, man, this stuff is, hey, the connection is just getting ridiculous. I can't deal with this. I think we finally got it fixed. And I think the boys can tell you that I think we finally got it fixed moving forward, man. So hopefully everything runs smoothly from here on out. But I love you, Tar Heel Nation. I appreciate you guys checking in, hanging out, man. The Heels are 4-0, bro. And I don't see a ceiling. We'll catch you on the next one, Tar Heel Nation.